Welcome to the second season of Under the Onion Skin, the podcast to get closer to independent animation directors and get to know some behind the scenes of their short films. My name is Giulia Martinelli, and each time I talk to a different director about an animated film they made. With this podcast, I hope to be able to capture a glimpse of what I love mostly about film festivals, to have something to listen to when we're back to our regular lives and desks, but most of all to celebrate beautiful films, talented artists, and storytellers. Welcome to Under the Onion Skin. Hello everyone, and welcome back for this second season. There is no better way to kick off a new series of animation chats than with the guest I'm about to present to you today. I had the pleasure of sitting for lunch and talking to Swiss-Polish director Jadwiga Kowalska during the Annecy International Animation Festival in June 2024, in which her film, The Car That Came Back from the Sea, was selected. This incredible film features a car and a group of friends in 1980s Poland, and it even ended up winning a prize during the Annecy Festival. In this episode, among other things, we talk about memories, multicultural background, and mixing languages. On this note, we do actually go down the rabbit hole of languages and mixed cultures at some point, so just know that towards the end, that's the main topic. So, without further ado, I leave you to the episode.
Vous avez fait votre choix?
Ouais, oui.
Je vous écoute.
Merci. Merci beaucoup. It's Jadwiga Kowalska.
And the film, the title is in English all the time.
Actually, it's the big one is in Polish, but since nobody speaks Polish, I think it's a bit lost. But I thought for the film itself, it's important that it's big in Polish because it's from Poland.
That's true.
The story. But on festivals, it's already, I realized when they have to say The Car That Came Back from the Sea, it became a very long title. And sometimes it changes according to whoever is like introducing the film.
Yes,
so,
like this morning.
Yeah, like this morning. So I think it's really nice because even I think the English is not really correct with The Car That Came Back from the Sea.
Okay.
Somehow, and the Polish isn't really correct because when you say samochód, który wrócił z morza, it means the car that literally came out of the sea.
Out.
Not back, it came out from the sea.
Yeah.
So I think in German we left that mistake that I made in Polish because somebody after she saw the Polish title, she was like, you know what that means in Polish, really correctly translated. Yes. And I was like, shit, I did another error. And if you watch the opening credits, I even wrote my own name wrong in the Polish. Yeah, so I was like, okay, there are mistakes, and there are mistakes in the voice-over which Wojtek speaks. Sometimes you have this East European thing that is not 100% correct English.
Yes.
So I think it's also nice because as a foreigner you stay somehow. So when I was a child in Swiss German, it's like particularly you have the verb at some point, and I always placed it at the wrong place. So people were like, yeah, you speak, I don't hear the accent in Swiss German, but you put the words in the wrong order. And I was like, I did never realize it. So somehow when you learn a language which isn't yours, and my family, well, we spoke Polish and Swiss German. Swiss German with my siblings, but because my mom she's on high German when she talks to me. Yes. So I forget Polish, which is also stupid.
Yeah, but I think it's good anyway, even if there are mistakes, because that's part of the story, right? It's about this second generation or like first generation.
Yeah. I just realized there are lots of spelling errors in the movie.
Yeah. This morning someone asked you about the style, the fact that it's so minimal, and you said also connected to the memory, right? Where you don't have a clear picture, so it's okay if it's a little uncertain.
Yes.
Maybe I don't know, you tell me if it's coming from there as well, but I thought you mentioned your mom said there was nothing in Poland. So there is this white space.
Oh, that's a really nice translation, actually, yeah.
There is like this idea that around there's nothing.
Yes, actually it came really from, I had these 5 interviews which weren't overlapping all the time. They told me the same story, but sometimes little things changed. And then it was like, yeah, they telling me all of the same past they had, but for everybody it's different. So if you do things like backgrounds too accurately on from photos or something, it will be like really you think it was like that. And even the car, I mean, did you see the car on the last image? It does really not correspond then to the car that we have in the film. So I took that freedom and somehow to say, I heard all the stories, but in the end it will be something in between, which we don't know exactly how it was.
Which makes total sense with the also the interviewing process that you did. And who did you interview? Like, who are these 5 people?
It's my mom, and then it's the sister of my mom and her husband, and the other sister of my mom and her husband.
Okay.
So it's uncles and aunts and my mom, but all from my mother's side of family. Yeah.
And they were all part of this gang, kind of? Or?
Yeah, they lived in the same backyard.
Yeah.
They were building the cars, and the boys were building the cars because, like they said, that there were nearly no cars at all. Yeah. And Leszek, the neighbor of my mom, he could somehow get a hand on the car, and it was totally unuseful in terms we would say today, but they just somehow magically fixed it. I
La
think.
première salade chèvre-chaud. Un peu de pain et des sauces.
Merci
Wow, big plate.
It's very
Look at this.
huge plate.
Yes, looks good.
Bon appétit.
Bon appetit. And I also think this white background is also somehow giving you this feeling of freedom that you were talking about.
Yes.
The car being this object of freedom, like
Yes.
being able to carry you away or to go anywhere or to be your home.
And, home in the end, but first of all to just get out of the city.
Yes.
I mean, it's not really a children's story because they're already like young adults, but leaving the place where the parents are is always important. Like, okay, we're out of sight for them, and now let's start discovering what's happening in this country.
Yeah, it's true. It is also a little bit like a coming of age story,
Yes,
right?
of course, yeah.
Growing up.
Because you're just in a small village, you don't really realize the problem that a whole country could have. And when you're like on the road, you see other people, you see protests, you see stuff that you maybe didn't realize in your small town where you live. So you get a bigger view of the world at some point.
Yes. Today also at the Q&A someone asked you about the tone, because it is a sad story, you know, that historical moment in the 80s in Poland, and the fact that the life was hard and they needed to go away, etc. And the contrast, let's say, with the tone of this film, which is quite light.
Yes.
And you said, you know, your family had always this approach also when telling the story, between crying and laughing.
Yes.
I feel like first of all, it's always good for storytelling to talk about sad things, but through like a almost light way, because then it makes you think, reflect, but in a positive way. Mm-hmm. But I also think it is how these people go through it, right? It's a sort of way to cope with a difficult time. Mm-hmm. Do you think that was your family had this kind of approach in order to be able to go through it?
At some point, I think really you need to stay happy and sane to get through such a time. And I think laughing is always a good way to stay at this light side of life. I think it's already over 40 years ago, so maybe with also time passing by, it's easier to talk about like difficult stuff in life, as if I would like talk over some about something that happened a year ago and which is still like eating me up. Like so, I think that they can have this interview like really with this smiling and laughing. I think that was possible because the time gap is also huge. I think, like other conflicts right now with Ukraine or Israel, I think it wouldn't be possible to, because it's so close, to really already laugh about it. And maybe at some point, people from these regions will be also able to talk about it, and with also a smile that, when this happened, this was happening at the same time, and still found a way to happiness. I don't know.
Yes.
It's too early to say, but I think in the end for my family they're laughing a lot. So it was really nice. You were always on the edge. No, not always. We weren't all the time crying, but laughing a lot. And sometimes when it was really sad, you are at the point you start to cry. And on the audio takes, it's that we're like about to cry, and then my uncle or my aunt says something, and you need to laugh. And it's like, I think it's important to have like not just the bad things, also the response from Polish people to the film. A girl told me that she was like really happy to see that somebody who maybe right now isn't living in Poland anymore can do a film about a very Polish subject and stay light, because she was like, people in Poland itself, when they talk about the conflicts, I mean, if you have political stuff, it will be the 80s in Poland or it will be Second World War. So it's always a bit sad, and it's always not really funny. And they as Poles, you realize you have a tendency to stay in this dark side. So even they know that sometimes they tend to be like a bit melancholic. So and I thought when you're 20 years old, you're just full of life. The world is yours. Yeah. You just want to
hope.
Yes, you just want to discover whatever is behind that tiny village you grew up. So it's I thought it's really, really, really important that the film stays on this very light side. And in the end, it happened to be 11 minutes, which is longer than I expected. I think I planned it for 7. But 11 minutes, they go fast. I think you run with them through the film, and it's like really happening, and in the end it's finished, and you say in the end, it's 11 minutes, that went fast. And I didn't want to have a film that is like 11 minutes and really sad, and you have the impression you stay there forever in this
Misery.
It's misery, yes.
Yeah, it's true. I completely agree, yeah. And as you said, for sure, like it's important to have time to process things and to detach yourself from the story to be able to reflect on it, and also to smile or to laugh about it, And maybe making the film itself is also a process to go through it.
Yes, because I mean, I think it all began with, it's not coming of age anymore, but for me it was like in my mid-30s, I was like, not really depressed, but at some point in your lives you have just bad moments, and I was all the time like thinking, what would have happened if my parents would have stayed in Poland? Would I have a happier life, or something really stupid? Because like I mentioned this morning, usually I guess wherever you are, it's you have to be okay with yourself, and when you're not, it's not really. Sometimes it can be the place. I won't say that if it's a war in your hometown, you should stay there. But I was in Switzerland, so there was no war. I was just a bit like not happy in general. So you try to process it like, I should be somewhere else. Maybe I would be happier. Yeah. So I needed to find out like because. Finally, it's the decision of my parents that they came to Switzerland, and I was like, is it my decision too to stay here, or do I want to go back? Is it my free will to be in Switzerland?
Yeah.
And also, I discovered so much family stories that they were telling me. I never heard them before, and it was like really to also knowing my own family in Poland better. It was like really important for me to have all these little stories which I didn't even know that they were happening with the car with the door. I mean, the car existed. They were like playing around with it, fixing it, and so at some point it loses the door frequently, and it was also like not magical thing, but I could not imagine like a car that loses his door permanently. Drive on in Switzerland around it would be just not be possible. So it was like lots of stuff that was triggering me in the end.
And it came out as you interviewed them. You didn't know this before.
Yeah.
I find it very interesting to know not only the story, it's on its own, the story of your parents, but also then makes you also wonder how exactly, as you just said, how you decided to make this film and what are your reasons to do it. And I can really somehow relate to it, even if I didn't experience the same thing, but it makes sense for me also being Italian, living in Switzerland, wondering, for example, why am I here? What brought me here? And you mentioned, you had some times when you were questioning what are you doing here or where should you go? And it's a very interesting starting point that made you then go back and interview your family. That's very nice.
It was strange because when I was there, at some point they're showing me pictures of this, the one actually, there's not many, because they were telling me the story about Leszek and the car. But in the end, we were really looking of pictures of that car, and there was just one photograph that with my mom on it, which is appearing at the end of the credits, that we could still find of that car. So it was also like nice because everyone has these boxes with piles of photographs. So they were showing me like, see, that was how it looked there, and it was just so nice to also see my parents when they were young in Poland, because we couldn't like when we migrated, we couldn't. Yeah, you were basically. You didn't have like a huge luggage something. You were like not pretending to leave the country.
Escaping.
You couldn't go with all your stuff. So we have like very few of these photographs from these times. Even though my family, when they were visiting later, they brought of course some photographs, but quite a lot are still in Poland. So it was really nice to discover all this also visual world where they were living in back then.
And the car story, you already knew it before, or it came out as you decided I made a film and you started to interview them?
It started with the car because I think in 2014 maybe, I was at the Polish festival somewhere, and there my grandma still told me that story of her neighbor, because she told me lots of stories about my mom, what she did when she was young. And one of the stories was related to this car, and it really started that my grandma died, and I thought like, shit, now all the stories which she told me are not gone, but I want to hear them again. And I started researching about that car, and then it was really cute because actually I wanted to do a movie about that car, and someone who is working with me was like, no, you cannot do a story about a car. It's just no, you cannot do it. No, it's not possible to do a story about a car. And I was like, I will prove you. And then I really went with Thomas giving me the microphones and everything. I went to Poland for 2 weeks, and I did all the interviews because I thought I need some background on the story. And when I went there, I realized already, if you're preparing the questions, the car, I mean, you can like ask 2, 3, 4 things about the car, and then I was also asking about their youth, how it was and stuff. And in the end, I came back with like 10 hours of audio material, and I realized it's not about the car.
Yeah.
So it was.
But it's good that the car stayed also in the title, stayed in the soul.
Because the car stays like this really light moment of the story. And if I would have not have the car as like the main point where it's all turning around somehow, I would maybe risk to have this really sad movie about my parents' youth. And the car is like some stupidity which you do when you are young. So it was really helping to focus on this kind of road movie and just have all the shit that is happening around them included. And you can somehow, with the car, it's also, you can drive through all these stories I heard. So it was, in the end, it was this moment of transformation. And also, at some point, when you're in a car, it's always conversation. Usually you know people that are driving with you in a car. So it's always like a magic kind of object, I think.
Yes.
Because in a bus you don't really talk to strange people. And in a train also not really,
or not so much, or not so deeply.
Not so deeply. And I think in a car it's always, you have like you know where you want to go. It's like always like a little road movie, and always you will be at the end of your car ride, you will be somewhere else. You will arrive at that point of destination. At the end you arrive there where you really question, is it the land? But it was, I think it was cut out in the end. One of the audience was like, yeah, they just really wanted to leave the country because they wanted a better future for their children. They couldn't imagine that we grow up there with, like my mom always said, there's nothing there. And
to give you like better chance. Yeah, of course, makes sense. I let you eat. But then you do carry with you, for example, the surname.
Yeah.
So you, even if you are Swiss, you do have like this something else, right?
We realize that you're not 100% Swiss. Yeah. You arrive here, and at some point, you, as kid, as like secondo, you are like integrated, but you still feel you're not really belonging here, and you have. Also me, I mean, I was born in Switzerland finally, but I knew there's the whole family in Poland, which I never saw. You come to that point that everybody else has uncles and aunts which are here, and we just didn't have that.
Yeah.
You have other like little stuff that, for example, in kindergarten you very quickly learn a new language as a kid.
Yes.
But my parents, they were still struggling, and even now my mother, she has still a very strong accent she doesn't speak Swiss German, and here it's even the more thing, but particularly in Switzerland, that you don't have the high German, which at some point you could be integrated, but you have the Swiss German, which changes at all corners. So like we said, German is like really difficult to like be accepted. And you always feel that you're not really there, and even though you choose to be here, but I think you must have the moments where you just feel that it's so hard to be fully accepted by Swiss people.
Yes.
It's just
I also sometimes I think I would probably never be 100% integrated, because even if I speak High German, and if I try to speak Swiss German, I will never sound like Swiss German.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but sometimes you also wonder, why am I doing this to myself? But then there are, the pros and the cons. And
yes, it is.
Yeah.
So I think this thing of being fully accepted, I think as a child I felt it more because it was more obviously when you're still living with your parents, and my mom came with me somewhere. It was also like when she was writing letters to like some health assurance things. At some point, I think at 8 years when I was writing German, she was like, "Do
Can you
write
fix
me?"
it? Yeah.
And it was like always you're at a very young age. You're like exposed to stuff which usually you wouldn't be if your mother or your parents are like.
Yeah. The parents, they lose a little bit of their authority already early.
Yeah.
And I also see it now. I have some friends, Italian friends in Zurich. They have small kids, And the kids, they start speaking Swiss German.
Yeah, correct.
And they also correct the parents.
Yes, yes,
And I think this will be also my life soon.
yes, yes.
So it is a very interesting, different parent dynamic that I never experienced.
But there is also, I think every language more is just like it's not present or how cadeau.
A gift.
A gift, yeah, because you just like you can communicate in another. If you have to always go through English, it's okay. But if you can share like same and languages are so particular because sometimes I struggle to say something in German even because I think the Polish sentence they have is so much precise.
Yes.
There is like one that is głodnemu chleb na myśli, and it says basically when you're hungry you can get excited about bread. Mm-hmm. So it's like don't see your wishes everywhere like and you cannot really translate it. It's like also like you need to be in a state of where you're really longing for something and you become slightly silly about that. And that's good that my husband learned that phrase somehow because sometimes when he's doing stuff I'm just like głodnemu chleb na myśli.
And he understands.
He understands what I mean, but I cannot like really properly translate it to German or even English. It's like you have this little fragments of a language that they stay. And I think it's nice when you speak multiple languages. You can like compare, like this country does the same or it does not. This morning I was like with the directors, and we had something, and I was like, yeah, I need to touch wood.
And nobody gets it.
It's like common, like in German, and I think English has
English, knock on wood, they say.
Yeah.
In Italian we say touch iron, and nobody understands if I say touch iron.
Yes. So it's really nice to have that the same thing, but like differently. And I think that for me it brings a lot of joy to see how very particular stuff in languages is like translated.
Oh, yeah, I love this. Yeah. You know, I don't know if I told you, before discovering animation I did translation and languages.
Okay.
So I'm really very much into this. I think it's fascinating.
Right now I never learned how to write in Polish, but so this AI stuff is good because the people is super because I can like really tap more or less what I want to write, and he's correcting. I think for such a thing it's like really nice that I'm now slowly learning how to write in Polish.
Yes.
And that's really nice because even here at the festival I just received, because I have a very, very common Polish name, really common. And usually when you have that name, all the text messages are in Polish. I can read it, but it's sometimes when you just need to say yes or no, I will write very briefly in English.
Yes. I totally understand.
You lose it, then somehow you wish to keep it because I don't know. It's like somehow magical. When I'm also today in the cinema, there were like two Polish people next to me, and they were talking in Polish, and I was like, hey, it's great to hear Polish people, and it's just somehow magical when you're not in Poland. I mean, really, somewhere abroad, and you hear people talking in Polish, I always say something to them because I think it's so nice that I can understand them and they're speaking. It's something that comes really from deep inside, and it's such a childhood something.
Because you can connect. Yeah, I love this. Languages are really magical for this. But thank you. I'm happy we managed to have this conversation. Also while eating, I've been like relaxed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you know that when you cut onions, you cry.
Yes.
I mean, some people don't, but you cry.
I do.
Do you have like any trick or secret tip not to cry when you cut an onion?
I give it to my husband.
Sorry?
I give it to my husband.
Yeah, that's a good trick.
No, it's stupid, but he cooks actually more than I do.
Yes.
And he cooks very well, so I'm really lucky person. I really have to admit I don't cut much onions. I do other stuff.
But I know, for me it's really a big problem. Every time I really have to stop and go wash my face because I don't see anything. And I'm like, I'm going to cut my finger if I don't see it properly.
Yeah. They can be mean.
And it's funny because I think there are a lot of almost like urban legends of all the ways you cannot cry.
I tried at some point in my life with like underwater
with
goggles. Yeah. Forget it. It will somehow it will.
It didn't work.
No. At least for me.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have to have these swim goggles where you can have this under pressure and the eyeballs are popping out.
Yes, I don't know.
I don't know. That I didn't try.
Or you cut very far away.
If it's a kitchen, it will somewhere spread around, I guess.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Yeah.
I think it's a very funny vegetable.
Yes.
It's the only one that makes you cry or that makes you have some...
Well, chili.
Chili when you put it in your eyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had that once that I forgot. I was having it for dinner, and then I went to a theater or something. It was like dang, and
rubbing your head. Oh no.
That was so stupid.
Yeah,
you
that's
need
true.
To watch your hands.
Well, actually, if you eat something very spicy, also like wasabi, your nose starts to run.
Yes, it is.
So there are other foods that make you leak. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dziękuję.
Dziękuję bardzo.
I hope you really enjoyed this first episode of the new season and you're curious to check Jadwiga's work. As usual, I will leave all the relevant links in the show notes. I also hope you are ready for what's coming. In fact, over the summer I attended some animation festivals and collected new juicy and inspiring interviews for this new season. This was Under the Onion Skin. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, with another director and a short animated film. Ciao!